Today's dedication is for Zahn, who gave me a very generous 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon. Just a one-lander, as we always open up with on Magic Online. And there we go, a two-lander with some ramp and card draw is good. I think we have to get rid of the Tear Asunder there. Surveil on turn 1. It's probably a good idea to keep hold of, seeing as how we have Bolas' Citadel in hand. Opt is Scry 1 and draw for Galadriel. So we know what we're drawing into, and we know what we're playing here. A 3 visits for a black and green Surveil land. And shows us another land on top, which we will keep. Enlightened Tutor for Tiamat at the end of our turn. And you'll never guess what he plays this turn. Holding up his blue mana to show us a Mystic Remora. But there's a Sol Ring here anyway, so not likely to get players to agree to slow down anyhow. So Mystic Remora is probably going to refill our opponent's hand. And it does not trigger just once a turn. Serum Visions just playing straight into that. So I'm guessing that he's desperate for green mana. He just scried with the Zhalfirin Void. Otherwise I would have held on to Serum Visions, but like I said, I'm assuming that he's eager for that green mana. I think I'll just try and draw some cards with the Night's Whisper first. So once again, Mystic Remora going to draw a card, which allows us to see an unspeakable symbol. Pay 3 life to put a plus counter on something, so obviously we can sink a bunch of life into the Betor with that. Might as well drop Children of the Corliss, so that we don't have to play it later, and pass. An Ancient Tomb for the 5 colour player, so plenty of mana, but he's not doing too well on the colours. Still got a full grip at least. Did decide to pay for the Mystic Remora with some of that coloured mana. Nissa Resurgent Animist is landfall and get a green. Eternal Witness, grabbing back Aetherflux Reservoir once it inevitably gets blown up, could be good. So Misty Rainforest for a tap land and the unspeakable symbol. And once again, Mystic Remora drawing a card. So going to be at 8 cards in hand before his turn starts. This is bracket 4 by the way, so just 1 level underneath CEDH. Hold back Children of Corliss, get a tap land with this and pass. Paying into the Remora again, so I'm guessing that he's not getting into the coloured lands he'd like. Managed to get Reflecting Pool, so he's just got Bant mana at the moment. But that allows him to play an enchantment, Dream Halls. Rather than pay the cost for spells, its controller may discard a card that shares a colour with the spell. And that means that it's a free Tiamat by discarding a Goblin Lackey. So, can he just combo off here with Dream Halls? A Scion of the Ur-Dragon, which he discards to play Deceptive Frostkite, which can grab Tiamat, or become a copy of Tiamat for more shenanigans here. And I do say that Tiamat is the best Dragon Commander. And I wonder if we're going to see it here. Everyone raves about the Ur-Dragon. I think Tiamat's a lot better. Also searched out Niv-Mizzet Reborn, Sapphire Dragon, and Marang River Regent. And then with the copy, noteworthy he's put the original commander in the command zone again. Ramos, Hoarding Brood Lord, Terror of the Peaks, Reckless Barbarian, and Bladewing the Arisen. So with Bladewing, shouldn't he have put his commander in the graveyard so he could reanimate it? Okay, so goes for Bladewing the Arisen anyway, discarding the Barbarian. I'm guessing he was supposed to have his commander in the bin here. It's a shame that there's no game type between bracket 3 and 4, because I don't particularly want a game where someone's comboing off on turn 4, but I don't want any kind of hindrance on my deck building. I want to be able to play as many game changers as possible, just without winning immediately. This is why I think CEDH should be a separate format, so that we could have, I suppose you could have a 6-tier bracket system. Anyway, this player decides to scoop. Marang is now coming into play. He reanimated the Scion with the Bladewing the Arisen. Has discarded Sapphire Dragon to get the blue dragon out. Return 2 permanents to their owner's hands. He is bouncing back the clone of Tiamat. So that makes sense that he would have reanimated the Tiamat and then replayed the clone. Terror of the Peaks is discarded. He had a Ragavan, so that's into play. Plays the Deceptive Frostkite, coming down as a copy of the Bladewing maybe? Yes, so he gets to reanimate something. Terror of the Peaks looks at its power, so that's 4 damage onto something. The Bladewing is legendary, so he had to sacrifice the Frostkite version. And with the trigger on the stack, does he get to... Oh, that's interesting. So with the legend rule, it happens before any triggers go on the stack. So he gets to reanimate it to its own ability, so that's just infinite damage now, isn't it? Okay, so we'll just call it a day there. He's going to consistently reanimate Bladewing with the Deceptive Frostkite, and every time he does that, Terror of the Peaks is going to ping us directly to the face. So our deck can't do anything like this. It's just pretty much a bracket 3 type deck with no qualms with regards to the number of game changer cards that are in the list. So I think this is one of the flaws in the bracket system. So I'll try another game. I'll show you this one for anyone who's interested in such high power combos. And we'll try to get an actual game in with Betor. Okay, I just remembered that there's been, since I last played this deck, an update to the game changer list, which I do tend to try and play around now because certain commanders, as we just saw in the previous game, are not going to be well suited to certain brackets. For some reason, Teferi's Protection has been added to the game changer list that was in this deck, and that's why I had so many game changers in the list that made it bracket 4. Yeah, don't know why this is a game changer, but it is now for some reason. Also, Necropotence has been added, which always should have been in the game changer list. I don't know why it wasn't, but basically I have swapped this out for Clever Concealment, and then we had Smothering Tithe in the list as well. I've now knocked that out and just replaced it with the Sky Shroud Claim. So game changers now are Necropotence for life loss and card advantage, same thing for the One Ring, and then Bolas' Citadel, I think, was added to the game changer list. Maybe it was already on there, but anyway, it's on there now. That is our 3 game changers, and we'll try a more suitable bracket 3 list after removing those 2 cards. Betor versus Wilhelt, Archik, and go Shintai. Wilhelt, probably one of my favourite commanders ever, and we have a turn 1 Serra Ascendant, then can hopefully put 3 different colours into Painful Truths to get into more lands after a Surveil, so yeah, we'll keep this. Might even be that we can draw too many cards into the One Ring, discard to hand size Vilis, and maybe Serra Ascendant will be blown up. That could set us up for the Living Death at some point as well. Draw back into the Bolas' Citadel, shock ourselves with Godless Shrine, and start gaining more life hopefully next turn with the Ascendant. Burgeoning for go Shintai, trying to ramp ahead and playing it on turn 1 with 2 players left is good. Let's see how many lands he gets ahead here. Plays another Forest. That is a turn 1 Battlefly Swarm. Can gain Death Touch as a 1/1 flyer. Playing Bojuka Bog on turn 1, there's been no graveyard action yet. Manages to get in Verdant Catacombs. I'm guessing he's not going to crack that before the Bojuka Bog resolves. And we do manage to get into our 3rd land, that's good. Nothing we can do on turn 2 anyway, so I'll just go through to combat. And I'll show my opponents who I'm looking at. Turn to the left. We do want triple black as soon as we can get hold of it, so let's just go for the Misty Rainforest. We don't have any green in play yet. Trigger the Burgeoning again, our opponent's down to 4 cards in hand. But pretty much just had Burgeoning with a bunch of lands available apparently. Then even has another one, Reliquary Tower, 3 cards in hand. Likely plays his commander. No, it is Cetizen Champion, so we'll see if he's got any enchantments to play into that. Cracks his Verdant Catacombs. Fixing his Jund mana. He needs white at the moment. He's got a blue off the Sultai Tricycle land. Another land coming in off the Burgeoning. It's unlucky that he's only got forests in play with regards to his basics. But down to 1 card in hand with all that mana. Then we see a Grizzly Salvage over here. It's lands, a Reanimate, and a Cultivator's Caravan. And then there was a basic forest, it looks as though he put into his hand. And Urborg is going to fix the black mana for the 5 colour player. Fix black mana for all of us, but it's especially good for a multicolour player that's not doing too well on his lands. And we see a Sol Ring, speaking of mana, into Talisman to fix his blue. and then did tap down his mana for something, but he might just decide to play it at instant speed instead. Nope, gets a zombie making Jadar. Oh, okay, and apparently I F6 through the turn. I was going to get out a Surveil land there. Okay, there's a Nature's Law we can go for instead of the Painful Truths. So we can get a couple of Surveil lands out here regardless. See if the last card in his hand is a land. Apparently it isn't. No, we don't have green available yet, so I'll have to go for an untapped land. So we can go Underground Mortuary here, and then Lush Portico off the fetch. A Soul Ring is on the top, so I'm not going to crack the Windswept Heath while we've got Soul Ring on top. Serret Ascendant into the left again. He can soon refill his hand with the Enchantress in play. So I'm going to keep on the pressure, but not going to ignore Will Help for much longer. Go Shintai gets his first enchantment into play. That's a propaganda, going to make it more difficult to swing in. We've got him down to 27 already though. And then managed to play a 3 visits, so he's down to 1 card in hand again. And that fixes his colours a bit better. He's got the Bamp mana now. Obviously his black mana is fixed like we said. So he's got 1 white and 1 red, couple of blue, and all the green and black. Vault of Whispers is an artifact, and plays a Ripples of Undeath. If you want to play this, you need to be getting it into play in the early game, so we'll see how much value our opponent gets out of that. Rhystic Study for the Dimir player, trying to get into more blue mana maybe, because it has to get down an Agadeem, the Undercrypt, as a land. Does decide to bolt that down. So maybe we see a Zombie Lord here. Nope, we see a Plague Crafter, so here is where it could be tempting for us to go for Living Death, depending on what our opponent sacrifices here. If he sacrifices Plague Crafter, which he does, not much point in going for Living Death then, because this will come in and just sacrifice everything again. And now the Decayed creature swings in at us. It will be immediately replaced by Jadar. So hopefully with a couple of players having very few cards in hand, we're free to get down our Betor. We know that we're drawing into the Soul Ring, so let's play that. Say no to the Study, or should we say yes to the Study? We could say yes to Study and then play the One Ring instead. No, I think I want to get Betor going as soon as possible, because we can start gaining life and then reanimate our Serret Ascendant before it gets exiled from the graveyard. Obviously it means that we're feeding cards into the Dimir player though. Now next turn we've got 3 and 6 mana. Maybe just get down Bolas' Citadel and start trying to go off. We'll be able to hit a land during that as well, which is what you have to look out for with this. You only get 1 land. Anyway, Rampant Growth, speaking of lands, gets 1 into play. Should be paying for the Rhystic Study tax, assuming that he's not doing anything else. Could maybe get down his commander, because he wants Summoning Sickness off this, even though he has nothing in the graveyard. Okay, he wants to play another spell apparently. Fixes his red mana with that. And looks as though he's going to be 4 for 4 with the Rhystic Study so far, setting up a Sphere of Safety. This is why I was swinging in over here, because it can get very difficult to hit a Go Shintai player. Ripples of Undeath triggering for the first time. The insect players going under the radar, a Victimize, Ant Queen, and Dredger's Insight. Doesn't pay the mana into that, but does fix his colours with the Command Tower. Then Golden Argosy, 5 for 5 with Rhystic Study. So he's back up to 7 cards in hand off that. The Living Death in our hand gets really good for the insect player. I mean, he wants as many insects in the graveyard as possible, but reanimating them could be good as well. Will help the Rock Cleaver. Holding up double black with 7 cards in hand, swings in the Decayed down the middle. And he stacks it in a way where Jadar will make the Decayed zombie first. He can sacrifice it with Wilhel if he wants to draw, and he does decide to do that. So 8 in hand. Maybe he just wanted to discard something to reanimate it. Nope, discards a Snow-Covered Swamp. He did get down a blue land eventually. And we draw ourselves into a Bloodthirsty Conqueror, I think. I am just going to go for the Bolas' Citadel here. Now ideally I'd have another land already so that we could not crack this yet, but I definitely want to lose at least 1 life here so that Betor can reanimate the Serret Ascendant. So let's just do that now. Instead of tapping down the mana into the Bolas' Citadel, being able to tap that fetch for mana from the Urborg has been handy. And again, say no to the Study. Let's see what we can get here. Witch Enchanter onto that thing might be a good idea, although I might regret not getting rid of the Sphere of Safety. So pay 4 life into that, we're still north of our starting life total. Mystic Study, again, we'll draw a card on the way out. Now we could go, we've just got ourselves Austere Command. Do we want to blow up enchantments? We could do that and aim for the Sol Ring over here instead off the Witch Enchanter. I think that might be an idea. So instead, they are going to draw another card of Mystic Study, unfortunately, but we'll go after this. Austere Command can go for small creatures and enchantments. Draw our opponent a card, we lose 6 life, going down to 36. There is the first land for the turn. Play the Shadowy Backstreet, we can clear another land off the top. Although there's a Sign in Blood, so yeah, at the very worst it puts some more cards in our hand. Could reveal another land, but point that at ourselves. Trying to get more creatures into play, really. As luck would have it, we clear 2 lands off the top with it and show a Karlov. So cast that, and that's something to dump a load of counters onto. Gravebreaker Lamia, another creature for us with lifelink. We entomb something into the bin, which will shuffle away the Cultivate. Let's just risk throwing a Valgavoth into the bin. And there's a land, so we have to stop there. But first we will swing in and gain a little bit of the life back. And we'll do that to the zombie player. We gain life, putting 2+ counters on the Karlov, ready to exile stuff. Do we need 6 on this? Yeah, 2 mana, remove 6 to exile a creature. So Betor on the stack. We'll put the counters on the Karlov, and we have lost enough life for Valgavoth. I wasn't sure if we had or not, I hadn't totted it up, so definitely reanimate that over the Serret Ascendant then, and force our opponents to deal with that. Our opponent just seems able to get into lots of lands, Maze of Ith, and now pretty much has to just play his Go Shintai. Noteworthy that even if we are not attacking him, he can remove Valgavoth from combat, which means it can't deal the lifelink damage. It will at least be held back as a big blocker though. And after a board wipe, we're going to have a decent living death now at least. Circuit Mender, when it enters, draw 2. When it dies, draw, I think. Yes, it's actually when it leaves the battlefield, so it's decent for Flicker as well, which I don't imagine we're going to see much of in this list. Viscera Seer is a sack outlet to load up the graveyard with insects. Crew with the insect onto the Golden Argosy. And that's a cool bit of tech actually, I was just talking about Flicker. So he gets to gain a bit of life, and when this leaves play and then re-enters, it will draw a card. The 3/6 turns into the right. So he's actually north of his starting life total now that has re-entered. Another blue land for the Dimir player who has a 4 grip thanks to that Mystic Study and us playing into it so aggressively. And a Rooftop Storm, let's see how much damage he can do with that. Lord of the Undead, that is return a zombie from graveyard to hand. Cleaver Scab. 3 tap, sack a zombie, make 2 token copies of it. Hope we get to see some Necro Duality action, that's one of my pet cards in these zombie lists. 7 cards in hand now, so he doesn't have to keep playing into a potential board wipe. Haven't seen any cards go under the Valgavoth, which is noteworthy. Okay, and decides to leave it there, so is he going to sacrifice? Probably not. Leaves his board intact. And now we have to be careful playing lands, because we're likely going to draw into one of the top here. Children of Corliss we see again, and we're going to lose a lot of life to Bolas' Citadel, so that is our life loss and life gain sorted out for the turn most likely. Fell the Profane can destroy a creature or planeswalker. Probably best going on this thing, although we can start returning enchantments with Go Shintai and I don't want to deal with them, so fell the Profane onto this and hope he doesn't scoop on us. There is the land on top, we won't be able to shuffle with a duel. And there we go, thought that might make him scoop. That was pretty much his only out. Savannah, and there is a swamp, so now in order to clear cards off the top we could go Painful Truths. Obviously put Abzan Mana into that. And what does that mean? We've lost 4, 5, 6, 7 life so far. Oh, and 8 with the Children of Corliss. And there is Aetherflux Reservoir, which might be the end of the game if we're lucky. Definitely want to get it into play though. And alright, there's a land, so apparently not. We could go for the One Ring and draw another card. Tear Asunder onto the Rooftop Storm is probably going to be a good idea though. So let's try and play a little bit fair and go for the Storm. Gains us a life for each spell we've cast this turn. Bumps us back up to 21 from 16. just pass through the turn. We don't have anything to reanimate apart from the Serret Ascendant still. Yeah, it's just lifelink damage here. We don't have the Maze of Ith to worry about anymore. So I'm just going to take everything in over here. Okay, and he throws his opponent under the bus because we haven't even done declaring attacks yet. So now we just attack him with everything. He definitely should have taken the hit there, but I'm not being punished for my opponent's negligence. So there we go, goes down to 15. Let me sacrifice Children of Corliss now, ready to reanimate. And we go up to 49 from 37, and I will reanimate this. Let's go Karlov, exiling the Viscera Seer, which he can sacrifice in response in order to keep it from being exiled, but has F6 through the turn, so we successfully exile his Viscera Seer. Betor can dump plus counters on Gravebreaker Lamia so that we can gain more life with it, reanimate Corliss like we said. So all this off the back of our game changer Bolas' Citadel really. There are some insects in the bin, so Achik sees those and makes 3 insect tokens. And that is what the tokens look like from the set, if anyone hasn't seen them already. Animates the Golden Argosy with this thing again. Oh, and you can actually overcrew. So he's done it with his commander as well, which is a nice bit of tech. So in a Golgari list he is actually getting to flicker with this thing. So gains 2 and draws with the Circuit Mender. We do have big flyers in play, which might be able to take him out. Actually, I don't think we've got enough in the air, so he might be able to make enough chump blocks here. Kudos to my opponent for playing it out. The creatures do come into play tapped, unfortunately for him, but he's got 6 chump blockers there. So anyone who's interested in this commander, this is the type of thing you can do with it. A land on top, let's just for the sake of... Oh, somehow. Why have I got Scalding Tarn in the list? No idea how that's happened. Alright, I was going to shuffle the top card of the library to get rid of that, but apparently we're not going to be able to. Let's just go for the Bloodthirsty Conqueror, swing in for lifelink damage. Gain life to the Aetherflux Reservoir, which puts a couple of counters on the Karlov. And it's noteworthy that we've got a 37-37 Gravebreaker Lamia, so even if our opponent chump blocks at this point, we've got him. Alright, so we gain a bunch of life, go to 96. The commander is on the stack, but we don't care about that. Let's just point the damage at them and put them out of their misery. So a convincing win for us. We have gained so much life that we're still north of our starting life total. Betor is probably the most fun I've had with any of the commanders from the most recent set. I really like this commander. Bit of a one-sided one, but our opponents had every chance to get into the game and just didn't manage to for whatever reason. And the first game was interesting, but a total whitewash of course, so 2 one-sided games for you all today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Big thank you to the patrons, as always. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.